intelligent. You read people well. You know when something is off. So why did you stay? That's the question that haunts smart people the most. Not, how did I get hurt? But, how did I not see it coming? Here's the uncomfortable truth that psychology has known for decades, and that nobody tells you. Intelligence doesn't protect you from toxic relationships. In many cases, it makes you more vulnerable to them. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why, and you will never look at yourself or the people you choose the same way again. Most people assume that falling for a toxic person means you were naive, desperate. Psychology says the complete opposite. The people most likely to stay in toxic relationships the longest are often the most empathetic, the most analytical, and the most emotionally intelligent people in the room. Here's why. When you're intelligent, your brain does something remarkable and dangerous. It analyzes instead of feels. When red flags appear, instead of reacting emotionally the way instinct would demand, your brain immediately starts constructing explanations. They had a difficult childhood. They're under a lot of pressure right now. That's not who they really are. Psychologists call this cognitive empathy, the ability to mentally step inside another person's perspective and understand their pain. And it's a beautiful quality. But in the presence of a toxic person, it becomes the very mechanism they exploit. Because here's what's really happening. While you're busy understanding them, they're busy using you. Now let's talk about what's happening in your brain, because this isn't weakness. This is neuroscience. Every toxic relationship follows the same psychological architecture. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it is, without exaggeration, the most powerful behavioral conditioning mechanism known to psychology. Here's how it works. In a stable, healthy relationship, kindness is consistent. Affection is predictable. You feel safe. In a toxic relationship, kindness is random. Warmth appears, then disappears. Affection is followed by coldness. Love is followed by withdrawal. And here's the devastating truth. Your brain finds random rewards far more addictive than consistent ones. This is the same neurological principle behind slot machines. You don't keep pulling the lever because you always win. You keep pulling it because you never know when you will. The same study that revealed this in gambling behavior, B.F. Skinner's research on variable reward schedules, directly explains why people stay in relationships that hurt them. The occasional moment of warmth, of connection, of feeling chosen, hits the brain's dopamine system harder than consistent love ever could. You weren't weak. Your brain was chemically hooked. Here's where intelligence becomes the trap. When a smart person experiences the cycle of pain and reward in a toxic relationship, they don't just feel it. They study it. They build theories. They look for patterns. They convince themselves that if they can just understand the person well enough, they can fix it. This is called the sunk cost fallacy, a cognitive bias where the more you've invested in something, the harder it becomes to walk away, even when the evidence clearly says you should. Smart people are more susceptible to this bias, not less, because they're better at constructing logical arguments for why staying makes sense. They turn, "I'm being hurt" into, "But look at how far we've come." They turn, "This is breaking me" into, "But I almost understand them now." And underneath all of it, underneath the analysis and the empathy and the reasoning, is a wound that psychology calls anxious attachment. A deep, often unconscious belief formed in childhood that love must be earned. That if you're just patient enough, understanding enough, good enough, the love you're working so hard for will finally become stable. It never does. Because you cannot love a toxic person into consistency. And your intelligence cannot think your way out of a trauma bond. So what breaks the cycle? Not more analysis. Not more understanding. Not another conversation where you try to explain how their behavior affects you. The thing that breaks the cycle is the one thing intelligent people resist the most: accepting what is, instead of believing in what could be. Psychologists call this radical acceptance, and it's not giving up. It's the opposite. It's the moment you stop spending your intelligence trying to decode a person who is never going to change, and start redirecting that same powerful mind toward your own healing. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe they have the power to shape their own outcomes. Smart people almost always have this. And it's a strength, in every area of life except one. In a toxic relationship, that same belief, I can change this, I can fix this, I have the power here, keeps you locked in a cycle that only the other person has the key to. The shift happens when you realize, your power was never in changing them. Your power is in choosing yourself. So why do smart people fall for toxic relationships? Because their empathy makes them understand instead of leave. Because their brain gets chemically addicted to inconsistent love. Because their intelligence builds elaborate reasons to stay. And because somewhere deep inside, they believe that if they love hard enough and long enough and smart enough, they can earn the stability that was never being offered. You were never stupid for staying. You were someone who believed in people, deeply, fully, generously. Someone who refused to give up. Someone who loved with everything they had. That's not a flaw. That's who you are. The only difference between that person and the person you're becoming is that you now understand the mechanism. You've seen behind the curtain. And you know, with absolute psychological certainty, that the most intelligent thing you will ever do is not figure out another person. It's choosing to finally, fully figure out yourself.